be a true me, or do I change all the time? Is there anything, am I the same as I was yesterday, or 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, or, well, I won't say how many years ago? Think about that. And you gradually realise the truth by focusing on these aspects of Buddhist teachings. So I always think it's a bit more like thinking than the other one, but it's a special form of thinking. Now, Buddhists, I've read a lot of this and I've kind of given up on it. You have to ask an expert, more of an expert than me, somebody who's actually a Buddhist. But in the Buddhist texts, some of them say the calm one's most important to nirvana, and others say, no, the insight one's most important to get you to nirvana, and others say you've got to do the calm first, then the insight, and others say you've got to do the insight first and then the calm, but you need both, and I haven't a clue. So what you need to know is that Buddhists argue about which of these forms of meditation is the most important and how it gets you to enlightenment. And just like mindfulness has become a kind of fashionable thing to do, even for non-Buddhists, so has Vipassana. So it has been adapted into a secular 10-day course. You can go on a Vipassana course. If you Google Vipassana, you probably get this 10-day course rather than the ancient Buddhist tradition. You get both eventually if you go down through the links. But there's a successful marketing of a 10-day course which focuses on just trying to calm down and think clearly, and it's very popular to do this with offenders in prison, to try and get them, I suppose, to deal with their emotions. Like if their tendency to violence, it helps them deal with their emotions and figure out, just because you're feeling angry doesn't mean you have to punch somebody, figure all that sort of. So it's something that can be practiced by non-Buddhists, just thinking about how you work, how your emotions work, how your body works, and detaching yourself a bit from it all, and you don't have to react on instinct all the time. How am I doing for time, and how am I doing for how far am I through? Just let me check the...
You've got 15 minutes, please.
Okay, let me see how far I am through. Or not too bad. So, I'm now going to go on to metta meditation. If we get some time at the end, this is the one I'll do. Metta meditation is on these 4 states called the Brahma Viharas, which means like divine states. And it's the cultivation of, this one's easier to relate to than thinking about a total focus on nothingness. It's thinking about how to treat other people. So it's cultivating your attitude. So this one helps morality. So there are 4 attitudes that you want to try and grow: loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. And loving kindness is just feeling that you want everybody to be happy and be well. Compassion is feeling sorry for other people's sufferings. Sympathetic joy, I sometimes think, is harder. It's being happy for other people's success. It's sometimes easier to be sorry for people and their sufferings and think, oh, really glad you got a grade A when I got a grade C. It's quite hard sometimes to have that sympathetic joy. But so, it doesn't matter. They did well, it doesn't matter that you didn't do well. And equanimity is just to keep everything equal. And so, with all of these, and I said if we get a moment, if I stop about 2 o'clock, we can do a bit, is you try and feel kind about yourself, and then about people you like, and then about people you don't like so much, and then out towards the whole world, till you can treat all beings with equal kindness, not just the people you like. And you just sit and do that in meditation. Mahayana meditation. Mahayana meditation, it's like a lot of things in Mahayana. It's got all the things that Theravada has and then some more. So they do similar things, maybe with slightly different titles to the ones we've been talking about, like mindfulness and calm and insight. But they're doing it for slightly different reasons, related to Mahayana goals. So they're doing it not to get themselves to enlightenment, but to be enlightened to help other people. So there's a slightly different spin to it. Some of the things that are different are visualizations, mantras, zazen. Now, visualizations are done quite a lot in Tibetan Buddhism, and it involves creating a very detailed mental picture. I'm trying to see Bodhisattva somewhere. say these up here.
Top right, yeah.
The man just through this flaming sword, that's a Tibetan style picture. And you try and completely build up that picture in your imagination so that you've got a perfect picture in absolute detail of the Buddha or Bodhisattva. And it's used by Tibetan Buddhists a lot, and this is used by Pure Land Buddhists as well, from Japan and China, in different ways. So for the Pure Land Buddhists, they're trying to imagine the Pure Land, an Amida Buddha in the Pure Land in all its detail, so that it's an incentive to carry on and get there. And for the Tibetans, because of the teaching that all things are not separate, they imagine the Bodhisattva, say Manjusri, and then the final bit of the meditation is that you melt into him, you become him, so that you are, essentially deep down inside you are the Bodhisattva. We were talking about the Tathagata Garbha earlier. So you become a Bodhisattva in your mind temporarily. So again, that should help you really become one in real life eventually. So I just put a couple of pictures in, keep us interested. So that's, I mentioned I've been to some Buddhist countries. It was an embroidery I found in Japan that's Amida Buddha. It's not our Buddha in our land, it's Amida Buddha in the Pure Land, which is another dimension somewhere, and all the bodhisattvas around him, and the people living in the Pure Land in real happiness and joy. Somebody say that's a really nice place, but it's not quite nirvana, but it's easy to get to enlightenment from there. Other Buddhists would say it's a kind of metaphor for nirvana, so they have different interpretations. And that's Amida Buddha again. I think that's the most popular Buddha statue in the world, in Japan, and the one that's copied by the garden centres to sell you a stone Buddha to put in your garden. But I always have to say, you can show off and say, well, you do know that's not the Buddha, don't you? It's Amida Buddha in his Pure Land. So that statue is not the Buddha, it's Amida Buddha. But it's sometimes hard to tell the difference, because all Buddhas are kind of the same, really. That's a Tibetan, the one that we struggled with pronouncing earlier on. Avalokiteshvara in Sanskrit, or Chenrezi in Tibetan. The one with thousands of hands. He's popular because he's got a hand to help everybody, even bad people. He will help even robbers, even criminals. So he's somebody who's a being, if you like, that's very advanced and has powers to help people, and you can pray to him to help you. And it's him that the Dalai Lama is said to be an emanation of, and these are other bodhisattvas down the bottom. So Tibetan Buddhists would try and build up that picture in their mind, and there are texts to help you. It says, he has a goat head, and you have to sort of go read through the text and imagine it. And the idea is that helps you become it. By imagining it, you become it. Other things that Mahayana Buddhists might do that is a form of meditation is chanting mantras, because chanting can have an effect on your mind. When one of my colleagues who taught Hinduism at the university, whenever we got really stressed in our work, we used to put on the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, just calm. Listen to the Hare Krishnas and calm down. So it has a calming effect to chant anything really. But Om Mani Padme Hum is probably the most famous one. That is the mantra of Avalokiteshvara, or Chenrezi. So in a way it's kind of praying to him, but in another way it has an effect of its own, which is calming you down. And another form of meditation, if you like, is constructing mandalas. And this is one that some Tibetan monks came to Bath a few years ago, and they made this out of sand, and they spent days doing it in a kind of meditative sort of way. All of these are coloured sands, tiny, tiny, tiny sands, and there's this beautiful mandala out of sand. And it symbolises the universe, this stuff over here, the whole universe, and all the Buddhas, and everybody. And do you know what they did with it when they'd finished?
They blew it away.
Well, almost. They didn't blow it away.
They rubbed it away.
They did destroy it, but what they did was put it in the river. That's a traditional thing. It's sort of more respectful rather than throwing it in the dustbin. They
Because
put in
that's
the
so you
river.
don't get attached to your creation.
Yeah, so you don't get attached. So everything's impermanent, even something really, really beautiful like that. So they make it, and it's really different from a Western way of thinking about our creations, isn't it? We'd want to put it somewhere and keep it forever. And they spent ages making this beautiful thing, and then let it go. Let it go, everything's got to go. And that's kind of a meditation. I wanted to, I've just about got time, to read you a bit. This was from 23-year-old, so not that much older than you, young man, British guy, who'd become a Buddhist monk, Tibetan Buddhist monk, and I ask my sort of questions with, what do you actually do when you're meditating? You know, just none of this highfalutin language, just say, what do you actually really do? So he said, you sit in a suitable posture, such as the lotus position, relax your mind and body, you prepare by reciting the 3 refuges, that's I take refuge in the Buddha, in the Dharma, and the Sangha, and then repeat the 5 precepts, you know, I undertake not to kill, not to steal, etc. Then you remember death, in the sense of, you know, everybody's got to die, we haven't got long, we've got to make the most of our lives. Then you visualise the various Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, bring them into your mind and ask them for help. Please help me. You generate a good motivation, this is very Mahayana. In other words, like a Bodhisattva, you say, I'm doing this not for myself, but for everybody. You think of the sufferings of the world until you feel great compassion. It's not difficult, is it, when you listen to the news? That gives you determination to work towards becoming Buddha in order to help them. So you think about all the people in the world and animals in the world having such a tough time. Then make your puja offerings, either literally or in the imagination. So it's not a good word for Buddhist worship, really, but their devotional practices can be meditation. So you offer flowers, either really or imaginary, and water and incense. You confess your faults, think about the things you've done wrong, rejoice in the happiness of others, and ask all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to remain in the world to help us. Finally, you offer up the universe in the form of a mandala. You either make a shape, or you can do a shape with your hands. Then you can start to meditate. So after all that preparation, you put your